All right, what's up, everybody? This is Ken here. This is a special episode of Atlanta DJ Zone Tech Tuesday Live. I have a special guest that I've been trying to catch with for weeks to do this interview. We are finally able to where we can do this interview and share this information with you. Let me introduce you, Shay M. Lawson. She's a Georgia-based intellectual property attorney specializing in brand protection and contract negotiation for the music industry professionals and social influencers. Now, her keen understanding of creative business has allowed her to broker client deals and protect the interests of multi-platinum, Grammy award-winning artists, songwriters, engineers, producers over the last 10 years of her practice. Now, she is a governor for the Atlanta chapter of the Recording Academy and a member of the State Bar of Georgia Intellectual Property. So let me go ahead and introduce you to Miss Shay M. Lawson. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
This
Thank
has
you for
been well
working through
overdue.
my schedule.
I've been trying to catch up with her for probably the past 2 weeks. Now, I ran across her because about 2 weeks ago, somebody shared a link from her Instagram, a video that she did on her Instagram talking about DJs and streaming music. So I'm like, okay, she's dead on the nail. I've been trying to tell people this for the past, even before the COVID-19, when streaming was not as important to most DJs, but now everybody is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to tell people this. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see if I can contact her, and you can hear it from somebody that's better in this than me, because it seems like nobody's not listening to what I'm saying.
They're not listening to you.
No, they wasn't listening to me. They wasn't listening to me. As much as they respect the technical advice and stuff that I do, I was not being respected on this. So now after 2 weeks of us firing back at each other and missing each other, because my sleep schedule is completely off. I don't know. Today is Monday. Yeah, today is Monday, and I don't know what day of the week it is or what month we in right now, but I know tomorrow's Tuesday, and I know I have to get this done before Tuesday. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into the first question and the most important question. Now, first question, why do social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and other block and mute DJs from playing live sets?
All right. So platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc., are going to mute you, block you, maybe even suspend your account if you are playing music that does not belong to you, i.e., music that belongs to a record label or an independent artist, and they have their copyright enforcement working with these various platforms. So the moment the algorithm pings that you are playing Michael Jackson, Off the Wall, or Prince Adore, because a lot of times it happens when you're playing like the mega artists, because of course their teams are absolutely going to be on it, that you will get shut down, you will be muted. And so it says that you are displaying content that does not belong to you. This video features music that does not belong to you. And so anytime you are publicly broadcasting music, you must have a license that grants you the right in order to play that music. And that either means that you have paid for that license, or the platform that you are using has a license and a mechanism to be able to pay royalties to the record label or to the artist or whoever the requisite rights holders are. But that is why you are being muted, because you as the DJ, regardless of if you paid for your music in a pool, you did your 99-cent download, you have the right to privately play that music, but you don't have the right to publicly perform it. And I know a lot of people are confused because they're like, well, I play music in the club, I play music at concert venues. Those venues pay a blanket license in order for music to be played in their venues. So anytime you are anywhere, whether it is the mall, the grocery store, the club, a bar, those establishments have paid what's called a blanket license in order for you or anybody else to play music. And so that's why it's allowed in those settings, but not allowed on your Instagram or Facebooks, because these platforms are not set up with those types of blanket licenses to ensure that the rights holders are paid.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, next question. All right. The next question, you may or may not know this, but this is the question that a lot of people ask too. There's some type of algorithm that the platforms use to be able to detect the music that's being played. Do you know what type of algorithm is used to detect that causes the copyright violation?
I have no idea. Yeah, no, I I have no idea, and I don't want to lie. So this is definitely a guess, and I'll say that if you have been listening thus far, I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney, and so therefore, any information that I give is not individualized legal advice. If you or someone you know are impacted by copyright violations or infringements, please reach out to an attorney that is barred in your state for a consultation. However, I just as a guess, I know that I think it's pretty simple, and I talked about this a bit in my Instagram. I really think that it's when you are blanketly playing a song all the way through. I don't know what the algorithm is, but you are now giving it time to identify the song. And so because you're not scratching, you're not blending, you're not, mixing different songs together, you are not creating anything original, you are simply just being a playlist or a Pandora, you're giving whatever algorithm it is time to now find you and shut you down, which would be different if you were, no shade, genuinely DJing, and just keep moving through your tracks, and you have your blends and you have your mixes, and you're being really original and creative with your song selection and your mixing. And I think that's what allows you to kind of work around the system for the time being. But I'm not sure the exact algorithm, but I find that the most people that I find that are being frustrated and being shut down and being muted, they're playing songs straight through, or they're playing a significant portion of the same song with no other creative additions.
All right, because on that note, I'm thinking that the algorithm that most platforms are using are the algorithm that used for Shazam. The basic, I guess, the 5
That makes
seconds.
sense.
The 5
That
seconds. Yeah,
makes
because
sense.
it picks
Okay.
up less than, well, depending on what songs, it may pick up in a matter of seconds
2
and mute
seconds,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, mute you just like that. And well, what you said is the same thing I've been saying, but they not hear me. Hopefully, you can listen to what she's saying, because she has degrees, the degrees behind what I'm saying. I'm saying this basically because I'm a DJ and I may know technical aspects of what's going on.
You're the tech guy.
Yeah, I'm a tech guy, and I even know the insides of record labels too, because I used to work college promotion. I worked college promotion for No Limit Records when I was back in Mississippi, and I worked college promotions for Def Jam here in Georgia. So I know a little bit of how the labels operate. And what you got to understand, you got to think of it from a business aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Before you think of it as a user or artist or whatever. You got to think of how they would run it as a business. So like I tell people, you have to be the fly on the wall during the conference meetings and see exactly what marketing is saying, what advertisement is saying, what the CEO is saying. You basically have to understand what everybody in the room is saying at the time that they have these meetings, and understand. And that's when I read an article and hear about bankruptcies and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, so this department probably didn't live up to their expectations, and so they had to go into bankruptcy or whatever. You just got to kind of understand the business side of stuff as for the point that you understand. All right, next question. Now the next question, and I don't know if you heard of this. Now the platform Mixcloud has started a Mixcloud Live, and they are able to stream without any license. I have seen the video with another YouTube video where they introduced and they talked about this. I'm gonna see if I can try to get them as a guest on to explain. Now, how do they get by to where, and they're doing the pay to play without any issues about the copyright. I know even though it's a European or a UK based company, and there may be some different aspects between how music is run here in the States compared to over there. Elaborate on that a little more if you can.
I have not heard of this, but okay, so I have not heard of this Mixcloud Live DJ, the pay to play, but it's just like what I'm saying. There's absolutely no way that a platform is known and is playing music and has not paid a license. There's just no way. So, you know, Ken, just like you were saying, from a business standpoint, there's too much money to be made in the music industry for a record label, a music publisher to allow music to be played for free en masse, and yet alone let a DJ get paid for it, and not the record label who owns the music or the publisher being able to pay the independent rights, the individual rights holders. So it absolutely still has to be one of these scenarios where Mixcloud likely has paid for a license, a blanket license use, in order for the DJs to be able to do this and to get paid. And it is likely the same type of license and technology, and they were probably just first to the market to do it, that Facebook is looking to integrate with their paid watch parties, where people can now pay to enter these private rooms when people go live. So I'm assuming that is the scenario that is likely set up there. It's still got to be a license. There's just no way that you're able to play music and publishers and record labels aren't getting paid.
Well, they are paying for some licenses. I think some of they right now they're going through the beta stage. It hasn't been released for the public. A lot of DJs have been going on testing, and actually, I think the amount of DJs that's been going on, they actually broke the system. Whoa. And they end up shutting down for, I think, for a couple days or whatever. I don't know if they're back up and running, but they wasn't expecting the overwhelm of DJs that decided to use their platform. But it hadn't been released to the public. It just only released to those that have an account. And I know one of the limitations that they had was that you can't play 3 of the same artist's songs at one time.
Back to back to back.
Like
yeah,
like
those same Pandora, here it is. I wanted to look this up. It says Mixcloud pays a royalty fee to the labels and publishers, who then distribute amongst the artists and the songwriters. Yeah, so there it is.
And I think there may be other. I mentioned this in the beginning, maybe the first week. I did it in a poll post that other labels, and I looked at it again as a fly on the wall. I'm like, okay, everybody's trying to go to Facebook. Facebook was like the primary one everybody was trying to stream from, and then D Nice did his thing, and then saw that he got a huge amount of people that attended his stream, so everybody wants to do Instagram. Now there's problems with Instagram, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen in the versus battles where the audio has not been, even if they had the right equipment, there was issues with the audio. And if there's anybody that's coming out that's doing another versus, get with me so I can help you have your sound better. I can get your sound better, with stuff that you probably already have around. But anyway, and so I'm sidetracked. But anyway, let's see, 3 artists.
You were basically saying that everybody was on Facebook. Then once D Nice did it, everybody moved to Instagram.
Yeah, moved to Instagram, and now everybody's going to Twitch. And just recently, had a DJ that's famous here in Atlanta, DJ JC. He did a post. He did a post today to where a lot of his tracks on Twitch had been muted. So now the one that people have been going to, everybody has moved from Facebook to Instagram, maybe YouTube, and then Twitch, and now Twitch is following suit. As I was saying in the beginning, somebody is going to come out with a platform that can cover everything. That's going to say, okay, we're paying the licenses, and you pay this much a month, and you can stream from us. And soon enough, here we go. Mixcloud started, and there are 2 more. There are 2 more. I can't remember what they are. One of them popped up on my timeline, and then another DJ. I think Beatport was one of them that somebody had shared that is now doing streaming. So there's more coming. Soon as somebody drops off, somebody else is going to follow. Oh, playdj.tv. And what had happened, this was a platform. It was a UK based playdj.tv. They went live, and I think they were live in maybe like the first few weeks. Not too many people were on, and I signed up and got an account probably last week, and maybe a day after that they shut down. As of I think either Thursday or Friday at 5:00. They had to shut down because they ran out of broadband, and they didn't have any financial backing. So basically, they just started thinking that, okay, we'll be able to run it, and then we'll be able to move to the next step. They didn't even get that far. They got shut down. A lot of the account holders, account members got emails. I got an email, and I shared it. I think I shared it at the last podcast or sometime during the week, that they had to shut their doors down temporarily until they can get some investors in order to.
What it is, yeah, I don't think that it's a sense of people don't want their music played, right? The catch really is all about business. It's all about getting money. So just like I told you before I looked it up, I'm like, no, I know that Mixcloud had to have paid one of these licenses. And so because this is new to everybody, you have to think about how long it took the music industry to really take on to streaming, period. It took a Napster coming. It took like a Napster coming and taking over the market, and kids pirating, well, everybody, not even just kids, people pirating, music for however long, for the music industry to move away from CDs and really go to streaming, right? And it still wasn't even your record labels that created these streaming services. It is like your Apples, and even with the curating a playlist, you have your Spotify's coming into the market, and the labels are catching up. So labels and major music business is always playing the catch-up game to technology and to the market. And so it's not that they don't want to capitalize on it, because if they can, they will. They are just trying to understand, how can they do this? How can we work this out? So you see a lot of the same problems happen in the very beginning when TikTok took off. And so you had like your TikTok and your Triller, where people are doing these little lip sync, these little dance videos, and it was cool. And there wasn't a lot of people on there. And then as soon as the platform took off and got popular, now the National Association of Music Publishers has sued them for copyright infringement. So there is always kind of that little gateway of, when you think about lawyers, we're expensive. And so you want to look at what is worth my time to enforce. So previous to the coronavirus, it might not have been worth somebody's time to enforce on a site like the one that you're just talking about. that was kind of indie and small. But now that it's coronavirus and everybody is jumping on a platform and everybody is streaming music, now this is worth the time to get lawyers involved to absolutely enforce my song rights. So there's always kind of that lag period between when something initially launches and it's okay, when the lawyers shut it down, and then when they figure out how to monetize it. And so we're in like that little middle period right now where lawyers are shutting everything down while the business figures out how to monetize it. And so that's why Facebook is like, hey, be patient with us while we figure out how to do these, paid watch parties. Hey, Mixcloud was the quickest to, but that also meant, just like you were saying, that they had the financial backing to even approach a Sony, approach a Warner Chappell, approach all these people and say, hey, can we license your artist music? That means they had the money to even license it, to offer it up. And so those are kind of the catch up. We know Facebook has the money. We know Facebook has the money to do it, but now they might be trying to figure out how can we monetize this, because the tech community and the music community, we are not heavy Facebook users. We're just not on Facebook like that. And so really trying to figure out if it's worth it for them monetarily. So I think that these companies will figure out ways, even if it's a subscription model for DJs, where it's like, okay, your set might be limited to these labels or this catalog. So you'll see sometimes that you might only be able to create your set based off of a pre-populated catalog. That would be my guess, that you would only be able to access a pre-populated catalog based on who they have acquired licenses from. And as they acquire more and more licenses on these various online platforms, then more and more songs will be available, but you won't just be able to play your DJ set from your own catalog. It'll have to probably be like a pre-populated catalog. And it's really just licensing, copyright, music. These artists and these songwriters and these producers want to get paid for their art the same way DJs want to get paid for their art.
Now, the next question adds on to that, but I want to add something with something that you said. Are you aware of the announcement that Zuckerberg made a few weeks ago about the new addition to Messenger rooms?
Yeah, that's what I mean when I keep saying private watch parties. Yeah.
Okay, so what you saying was what he said, because he mentioned in that video, he mentioned something about DJs that can stream, and then he vaguely mentioned about more like a pay to play, but he didn't go into detail, and he didn't mention, if the copyrights and stuff would be taken care of, that you could create a group of rooms.
It out. I don't think there are so little details. I have been unable to get any straight answers.
So you've been contacting them or trying to find out facts about it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have not been able to get any straight answers about how this is working, because, you want to get the information out there. You want to move people over to a platform, as quickly as possible, if this is what a viable solution is right now. So, but I think they're still working it out, which is why they don't have the details.
And the thing about it that I didn't understand was that you create a group in Messenger, and you charge people to come into that group to hear you play.
Yeah.
For DJs, I don't see it working a lot unless you're a big major name DJ like Jazzy Jeff or.
Oh no, I think it can work. I'm really good friends with Mick. He's a DJ. He's originally from Cleveland. He's based out of New York now. And he's been doing a series of private Zoom parties that are either corporate sponsored or, private parties. He had a few slots where, just the general public could book on his calendar. And so if you are having, I saw Rasta Root do one too. He's here in Atlanta. I saw him do one just as a special for like a family where it was some, somebody's birthday. I want to say it was like a 16th birthday or something like that, and did a private party. So I think there's a market for it if you're
Okay.
doing something really specific like that, but you need to intentionally market yourself by creating these things where it's like, hey, you want to have a graduation party for your family? You don't want to risk a sketchy playlist. All right, here's your graduation party. Here's my rates. You can set up yours. You can come to my Zoom room or my Facebook Messenger room, and here's the music. It makes sense, and I think people would pay for it.
Okay, so I didn't even think about it as for replacing, because a lot of DJs in the groups that I'm in right now are doing the Zoom parties. And that's going to be something we're going to talk about as well, because there's some stuff with using Zoom that you're going to need to do differently than what you would if you was doing an actual live party. But I didn't think of it. I thought of it because when he first mentioned it, he made it sound like, okay, well, instead of you streaming to Facebook and putting up your Cash App for tips and donation, you just create a private room
and people pay
and
to come in the
people
room.
pay,
Yeah,
$1,
I do
$5,
think
something
that
like that.
I think that is how it's going to be set up, but I do not think that it is made with DJs in mind. This is more so made for your indie bands, your indie artists. So definitely not your Erykah Badu's or your Jill Scott's, but kind of that same original concept that Erykah Badu had, where it's like, hey, pay me you can come in to my concert if you pay me $1. I think that Facebook is really kind of capitalizing on that concept, but I think it's not necessarily intended for DJs. It's more so intended for indie bands and artists. So this is your ticket to the concert. Come support my band. Come support, this concert. This is your ticket. When you enter the room, you are paying for, this private, little brother concert or whatever.
Okay, because when he mentioned that, he mentioned DJs, and then that kind of caught my attention. I kind of raised up and then start listening, and then he mentioned that, but he didn't go into detail with it. I just want to know if there was anything that you had in detail. All right, let's get to the next question, which was something that you mentioned and I mentioned too. Are there any issues with DJs asking for tips and donations when they're playing music?
That they legally don't have the right to stream. I mean, the issue here is that you are utilizing somebody else's intellectual property for profit or gain without their permission. So this is like the online equivalent of making a bootleg. This is the 2020 version of making a bootleg CD and reselling it, right? So that's a really extreme example, but that's honestly how they'll see it. And copyright infringement is copyright infringement, So if you think about, and I know it's been a long time since all this happened, depending on the age of your audience. But when the music industry cracked down on Napster, I mean, they were doing $1 million judgments against kids, against 16-year-olds. They didn't care if they had illegally downloaded one song. And I think they'll be seeking to make an example out of somebody, and you just don't want it to be you. So I think you're already in tricky territory when you're streaming music that doesn't belong to you, and you're even in even murkier territory now when you are asking for tips and donations for music that doesn't belong to you. I think as a lawyer, you could have a really shaky case for fair use if your stream benefited charity. If it had a non-for-profit purpose, then you might have an argument that it is not copyright infringement, that you have fair use. Same as if maybe you made an argument for educational purposes, that you were not doing this for personal benefit or personal gain, but that you were teaching people to DJ, or you were teaching something. Then, when you use something for educational purposes up to a certain amount, then it is considered fair use. But the courts always look at the amount of the use, the manner of the use. And so things like asking for money in exchange for music that doesn't belong to you does not help an already bad case for infringement in the first place.
All right, because that question came up because I'm sure you probably heard that Kid Capri mentioned something about DJs not adding donation, posting their cash app, asking
Mhm.
for money when people are going through a crisis and can't
Yeah.
get bills and stuff paid. So that
But
was I didn't.
DJs are people too. I
Yeah.
just think they're going through crisis too because clubs are closed. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? So that's the main revenue drivers. I think if you want to just ask people to support your business, you got to completely separate the two in my mind. That support me because it's support the DJ Tuesday, or it's support, the so and so. Let me send you a t-shirt or a private something, but I wouldn't connect it to my live stream.
Okay. Next question. What steps would the end and well, I can't remember who asked me this question, but what steps would an individual need to take if they want to do the process themselves? I know, and well, let me go ahead and read the question complete. What steps would an individual need to take to obtain the proper clearances to play copyrighted music on social media or other platforms without any issues? A lot of them said that they think they could just get an ASCAP or a BMI license, and then that allows them to do it. A lot said that I bought the music, I got it from iTunes, or I got it from here. I actually own the music, so I should be able to play it. Let me get your understanding of how that works.
Absolutely not. You see me shaking my head this whole time you've been reading the question, right? Just no. The answer is no, no, and no. No and no. There is no workaround to this. As far as obtaining clearances and licenses, just because you download it does not mean that you own it. Just you don't own. That's really difficult to explain, but it seems like creatives would understand it the most. Just because you downloaded a song doesn't give you ownership of it. When people talk about owning their masters, right? Like, you don't own it. The record label owns it. They have the sole right to publicly perform this work because they paid for it to be created. You do not own it because you gave 99 cents and now you can do whatever you want. That is not the case. And just because you have a personal license, unless the platform itself allows a user to, at the time that they are creating a profile, or maybe provide some provision for you to update your profile to show that you have appropriate licensing for music, and maybe that is something that platforms are working towards. But until they do that, I don't think that there's a climate in which individuals will be able to obtain licenses and then freely play their music. Because how will the algorithm know the difference between, Shay, who's paid for her license individually with ASCAP and BMI, and Ken, who is not? All the algorithm knows is that the music is playing. And so unless you have some kind of indicator in the metadata of your platform that shows that you have the proper license for this, I think you're going to be in a really difficult space. Not saying that these platforms won't create, those little indicators, the same way that you maybe can click that you are a business profile, maybe eventually, and I'm just saying maybe, I'm not saying, I don't have any kind of inside scoop, but maybe they will create, some kind of indicator where you can click like, I'm a music professional or music creator. I, have paid for a license. Here's my, license number or reference number or whatever for my license to play music. The only other small workaround, which I'm sure you're aware of, that I talked about in my Instagram live, is for you to literally, and I said this in my video, I think this is a huge missed opportunity for DJs. especially those who used to work in the radio space or used to be touring with artists or whatever. I think a lot of DJs are missing the opportunity right now to break new music and to work with these major labels who are trying to break artist projects that are being released over the summer, even though we are in quarantine. So now, if you are in a position where you are working directly with Atlantic Records, you know, with Universal, with whoever, for their artist's newest release, or you know, Tory Lanez is you know, now indie or whatever, so you're working with an indie artist on their new release who has a significant following. Well, now you are in a position where this major label can get you the waiver. This major label can work with a Facebook and Instagram the same way that like a Versus and a D Nice are working with the platforms in order for your music to play, because you are working with the actual owner of the music, which is the label and the artist, and then they can secure the appropriate underlying rights from the producers and songwriters. So to me, that's your key thing. And if you're local, especially like, can you mention being in like a Mississippi or something like that? If you're watching this and you're in a smaller market, let's just say you're like in a Macon or Athens or Rome, like in Augusta, this is a really great time for you to break local artists and share your live, play their project, and they aren't gonna get you pinged by the algorithm, because you know, the same way as Shazam wouldn't pick them up, I'm sure an algorithm wouldn't pick up your local artists either. So I think that those are kind of your workarounds for the moment, and really take advantage of this and break new music, because there aren't a lot of DJs out there breaking new music anymore.
Excellent, excellent. Now, this question, and I know you're about to get tickled at this one, because I'm sure you may have heard this one a lot. Many DJs post the Fair Act law, I think it's 1976, where they put it into their live sets. Is this effective for them to use? And what does this law mean? And who does it originally apply to?
What in the world?
You're not familiar with that? They basically post it. It states that I don't have the rights to, or the ownership of this song. It's basically to where they put themselves not responsible for anything that happens. I'll find a couple of them and send them after if you don't understand what it means.
Yeah, because this is like a miss. There is no Fair Act law of 1970. This is really odd. So I'm assuming what they're referring to is like the Copyright Act of 1976. In which the court defines fair use, which I just discussed, those fair use factors that I talked about, where it was, you know, education, non-charitable, you know, the length, the commercial value of it. Those were the 4 factors that I was literally just talking about as it related to fair use. So I'm assuming that that is what people are referring to when they're saying the Fair Act law of 1976. What they really probably mean is the Copyright Act of 1976. And so anytime a use is nonprofit, educational, or personal use, then you can have an argument that it is not copyright infringement. And so that's what I was literally just talking about. If you are using this in a teaching setting, and so you'll see this happen a lot with movies. Actually, a PTA got sued by Disney, I want to say, for showing The Lion King at a fundraiser, right? And so there's this logic that they play movies all the time for kids, but, you know, they're claiming it's educational. They're teaching humanities or music class or, you know, Getting Along or Animal Kingdom or whatever, right? So they're using the movies at school for educational use. But now when you tiptoe over to a commercial use, to a for-profit use, aka a fundraising use, now you've stepped outside of the bounds of that educational use, and it's no longer fair use, and it is just downright copyright infringement. And so that's kind of what I've been harping on this whole time. And I know that I sound like a broken record, no pun intended, but if you don't own the rights, you don't own the rights. And so I think, just like I was saying before, you might have a better chance at playing music and not being shut down if it is tied to a charitable use. If you are not personally collecting money for this and you are donating it to charity, and you have coordinated with the charity and the rights holders in that aspect. And then again, personal use, which I'm guessing is why Facebook is also putting this in Messenger instead of just like a general broadcast, because now this is your personal room, the same way that these Zooms are personal Zoom rooms. This is your own personal Zoom. You are not publicly broadcasting this. So this would be the equivalent of me personally playing music at my backyard barbecue, or at my house party. This is my own personal use and not a business use. But inherently, if you are a DJ, you are a business, and so it's going to be really difficult for you to claim any kind of fair use under the Copyright Act of 1976. And you putting that little disclaimer at the bottom of your box that says, I do not own this music, is not helping you.
Good. I'm gonna send you a few examples. Since you said you haven't seen it, I'm gonna send you a few examples, and I may have sent them in the videos that I sent you, little clips of people.
Yeah, I'm like, let me look at your.
I may not have included it in that, but those were like a few that, based on the questions that I've stated here, and that was just within one day, or just scrolling down within probably less than 50 posts that I saw those. So I'll send that to you later. Let's move on to the next question. I'm sure you got something to do. My next question, where is it? Okay, this is the next to the last question right here.
Okay.
Since social media platforms were not developed for music streaming, which is what I've been trying to tell y'all, it's not developed for music. Do you know anything in the coming future, during or after this epidemic, that will allow streaming music on social media? Anything that you heard or?
No, I haven't. I'm sure it will, but I haven't.
Okay. Well, y'all can forget that. You just have to wait till whenever somebody brings something else up. Uh-oh. Disappear for a second. All right.
Let's see. Uh-oh. Oh.
Battery dying out?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm back.
All right. Now, this last question, it's not related to streaming. This is a debate me and somebody been having for a while. I'm not going to say which question or which part of it is me, which part of it is them. I'm just going to ask the question, but it's related to DJs and contracts.
Okay.
All right. In a contract, what is the difference between using non-refundable deposit versus retainer fee in that contract? Which one holds to the payment of it not being refunded in the event that the contract is breached? Did you understand that one? See, I know you're gonna start laughing at this.
Neither one of these make any sense.
Okay, here's the deal.
Oh man. So
does refundable deposit?
So these are two different clauses, really three different clauses in a contract. A fee is a fee is a fee. It doesn't matter what you name your fee. So you could have a deposit due on a retainer fee. So right, like I could charge you a $2,000 retainer for my services. And you might need $1,000 deposit to book the time and to pay the complete balance before I begin my legal services, right? So you calling it a retainer versus just calling it a standalone deposit doesn't matter. A fee is a fee is a fee, and a deposit can be a part of a fee. So that's number one. Number two, a non-refundable deposit is a non-refundable deposit. So you don't even need to breach the contract in order for it to be non-refundable. I just told you up front, it wasn't refundable. So if I can't do this anymore, if you can't do this anymore, my dog got sick, my car broke down, I'm not in breach of the agreement. But guess what? You don't get this money back either because it was non-refundable. So you want to put some language in there that justifies why you're saying it's non-refundable. So I would, center some language around there in which you state that, like, in order to secure the date, you must pay a non-refundable deposit of X, Y, and Z, right? Because as a DJ, you are giving up other business opportunities in order to hold this date for somebody. So that is why it is non-refundable, because even if you change your mind later, I may not be able to get rebooked for this date. So in order for me to hold this date for you, you must pay a non-refundable deposit of X, Y, and Z. And so then, separate from the fee and separate from the deposit, now you want to have a plain refund policy that could be for breach of contract, or it could be for anything. So you have to look at, like, a coronavirus, right? So I'm sure a lot of DJs had nothing in their contract that related to, like, pandemics or acts of God or things beyond their control. But I always talk to DJs about that because I know a lot of DJs who have had their equipment stolen. Like, I can't tell you how many DJs I know where, I mean, they've had literally everything stolen from out their car, where they might have just ran in somewhere real quick. And I don't know if somebody was scoping them or what, but I can't tell you how many DJs I know that have had their stuff stolen or their hard drive got corrupted and they don't have anything. Those are things that are out of your control and absolutely need to be in your contract. And so you need to have a refund policy in there, period. Whether it is breach of contract, whether it is something that is out of your control. And another thing that I tell DJs to put in their contract that I find that they don't have in their contract is, what are your AV requirements in order for you to properly set up? You don't want to risk your laptop and the rest of your equipment because somebody has a shoddy electrical system, or their sound system isn't appropriate for you to adequately, do your job. What do you bring and what don't you bring? Am I bringing my own speakers? Am I bringing my own soundboard? Am I bringing, what am I bringing besides my laptop? And so you want to be absolutely clear on that. And so if you now arrive at a venue and they do not have what you need in order to do your job, that needs to be in your refund policy. So you, as a DJ, and I tell this, it doesn't matter if you're a DJ or anything, an event planner, a t-shirt maker, a dressmaker, whatever, you always want to talk about what's included, what's not included, what's going to cost extra, and walk through the steps of if the unthinkable happens, because that's going to govern your refund policy. So your fee is one thing by itself. Your deposit is another thing by itself. And your refund policy is a third thing by itself that could include breach of contract on top of a whole host of other things.
Yep, you said a lot more than what I thought you would. And
wait, I can't hear you.
Question, it was basically if
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
What happened to my mic? Hold on a second. Let me see. Testing. Yep, I'm here. You should be able to hear me. Yep, I'm good. You can't hear me? Yeah, my mic is working. Let me see. Did I click anything? Nope, you're not muted. You still can't hear me? You can't hear me? My mic is working. Let's see. Testing. Okay. Test. Yep, my mic is working. Let me unplug it for a second. Uh-oh. What happened? Okay, I lost it for a second. That was basically, well, that was the last question of the interview. I'm gonna share her information. I'm gonna scroll it across. Oh, here we go. We got her back.
Oh, I'm back.
All right.
I can hear you
Can you hear me
too.
now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So it was on your end. I'm like, oh, she dropped off, but good thing we was at the end.
Oh my gosh, I talked for so long. Did you hear anything I said about the refund policies?
Yeah, I heard
Okay.
everything. It was
Whew.
just at the end you said you couldn't hear me.
Okay.
I don't know if it happened because I clicked to scroll your information across the bottom.
Okay.
Since we was wrapping up. On that last question, it was basically with non-refundable deposit. And usually when you hear the word deposit, you like, okay, I'm gonna be getting a portion of this back if I don't do anything. But it was like if even if you violated, you didn't get your money back. Either or if not, you didn't get it back. Versus, and I know you in the law field, y'all use retainer fee, and that's you get paid that regardless because that's for your time and your services or whatever. So I'm like, well, I think retainer fee would probably hold better than deposit, because if you look at it as for apartment situation, if you pay a deposit on a apartment, then if you cause any damages, you lose it. But then there's other ways that you can also lose it.
Yeah, but you got to think that those are like security deposits, right? So they have some kind of preference. I think about a deposit. Another word for deposit could be like installment, payment, right? So realistically, when you are utilizing a service and not a thing like a car or an apartment or something like that, but when you are utilizing a service, a deposit is really an installment payment towards the total balance of the fee. And then your actual separate, that's why I say it's three separate things. And then your actual refund policy will then dictate the circumstances under which you can receive some, all, or none of your money back.
Yeah, and the differences that we were trying to verify is that you get none of it back.
and so that just needs to be in your
non-refundable deposit is an oxymoron. It clashes with each other. You're trying to refund something, but then you don't want to refund it.
Yeah, then that just needs to be your refund policy. And so you'll see that sometimes where it says, absolutely under no circumstances will a refund be given. Or you'll see that it says, refund is in the sole discretion of service provider, depending on the situation. So whoever, I tell DJs, use a lawyer. How many times have you gotten screwed over by a venue or by a client? And so if there's something you're going to invest your money in, it would definitely be a good services agreement. And you just want to make sure that you're crystal clear on when people can and cannot get a deposit, and thinking that playing tricks with the sentence syntax is going to help you is not it.
Okay, somebody just popped up in my video. My son just came in,
it was smooth,
and I didn't see him. I thought I saw something creeped up behind me. But anyway, I really, really, really appreciate this, and I'm glad that we was able to get this out the way. So y'all be sure to check this out. It's gonna be on my most recent episode, which is tomorrow, of Atlanta DJ Zone Tech Tuesday. I'm gonna go ahead and put that information up right here. Atlanta DJ Zone Tech Tuesday Live every Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. If you're available, come and check it out. It'll go on from Tuesday probably to Wednesday, maybe even Thursday if I don't tell people that we need to end the podcast. But it usually goes long, and you can catch it on YouTube. And my DJ name is The Kid 007. That's DAKYDD 07. Make sure you subscribe and also ring that bell so you can get notifications for any other podcast that I have. Right now, I'm gonna let her close out with anything else that she have to say. I'm gonna post a picture of, she has a website that you can see posted here. This is it right here. This is a website.
Hey.
Go to a website. She has her own podcast. I'm gonna let her take over and do some talking. You got the room.
All right. Thank you for having me. Hope this was helpful to you guys. I know that it's super frustrating just to be a DJ and just to be an entrepreneur, period, and be trying to figure all this out. So I appreciate you guys listening. If you have any questions, you can always follow me online. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Shay M Lawson. You see the blog scrolling, so you can find out about me and my clients. You can also click on the top and click work with me if you want to chat about your contracts and make sure that you are legally protected when outside opens back up. And of course, you can listen to my podcast. It is called A Minute of Your Time, and it's available on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple.
Excellent, awesome. Like I said, everybody, y'all make sure you check her out.
I can't hear you again.
Oh, why you keep losing the sound?
It's when you click off the screen.
Okay, but when I come back, hold. What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, because all I do, I just go backstage where you was when we first started. So when I come back on, you can't hear me when I'm off. But when I come back on screen, then you should be able to hear me. It's just when I drop back off, I just have to make sure my mic is not muted. But like I say again, because thank you for your hour of time, because we're close to an hour. I thought this was gonna go 30 minutes, but she gave a lot of valuable information. Like I said, you guys have not been listening to me. You need to listen to her now. You can listen to her now because she's probably been saying the same thing that I've said, but with a lot of legal jargon behind it.
Nobody wants to hear that they're breaking the law. Nobody wants to hear that they're infringing on copyright. Everybody just wants to party. There's just nuances to it.
Yeah. Hopefully I can get more interviews with her. Like I said, check out her podcast, check out my podcast, and well, that's it. Thank you for your time. We out. Make sure y'all catch this video and many other videos. We out. Peace. All right.